Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to see you come back to my channel. For today, I have a real gem for you. Today's video will be a continuation of the previous tale of a double murderer named Dovydas Kriaučiūnas, a convicted felon from a small, quiet European country named Lithuania. If you haven't already, I invite you to watch part 1 of the series. Link is in the description. To recap the events covered in the previous video, during the month of June of the year 2003, Mr. Dovydas brutally murdered 2 18-year-old girls, while he himself had celebrated his 18th birthday just a month prior, thus becoming eligible for a full-on adult trial and sentencing. Had he decided to go on his killing spree just a few months earlier, the max sentence he would have received would have been 10 years. Instead, Mr. Dovydas decided to carry out his crime after putting on the big boy pants. Well, mister, since you misbehave as an adult, you will be punished like one. And thus, Mr. Dovydas, instead of getting a measly 10 years for double murder, received a life sentence. A maximum sentence for murder under Lithuanian law and in compliance with the laws of the European Union, but you already knew that, didn't you? You watched part 1 of this series. So what is there more to say about this felon, you may ask? Oh, you would be surprised. After Mr. Dovydas did the double murder, he then tried to sell off some of the stolen paraphernalia from the victim's apartment. Anyway, he gets arrested. Police officers question him about the details of the incident. Mr. Dovydas tried to pin everything on the mysterious mafia, quote-unquote. What mafia? The hell are you talking about? The police officers asked during the interrogation. No, guys, you don't understand. I'm innocent. Those girls must have had boyfriends who were mafiosos, and they tried to break up with them after finding better boyfriends or something. Mr. Dovydas insisted. Oh, give me a break. The interrogator face-palmed. Okay, let's take it from the top. The last week of June. What were you doing? Where have you been? We'll go day by day. Starting with Monday. You get up from bed. The day starts. What then? I am paraphrasing, of course, but the conversation went something along the lines. Mr. Dovydas couldn't handle the questions and the interrogation process, most likely got tangled up in his own lies, and quickly admitted to being guilty. After murdering the 2 girls, Mr. Dovydas didn't immediately run away, nor did he freak out about committing 2 capital murders. No, sir. The man is a stone-cold killer. He nonchalantly dropped some cloth over the murdered bodies of the 2 girls, Aushra, the apartment owner at the time, and her friend, named Indre. Both were 18 years old at the time. After covering the victims' bodies, Mr. Dovydas used Aushra's cell phone to call his girlfriend and asked her to go on a date with him. I mean, Is this guy a living, breathing Cupid or what? Anyway, despite the obvious strangeness about her boyfriend calling from another girl's cell phone, his girlfriend agrees to hang out with her murderous boyfriend, Dovydas. Thus, Mr. Dovydas, not having anything immediate planned to do at the apartment, simply locked the door and left. I mean, the two murdered girls aren't going anywhere, are they? God damn it. And I thought that my relationships are messed up. After meeting his girlfriend, Dovydas shows her the 3 cell phones belonging to now deceased Aushra and Indre. He gave one cell phone to his girlfriend, one kept for himself. The other cell phone was sold to some random guy on the street. Once that's done, Dovydas proceeds to chill and have a date with his girlfriend. Until it got dark, that is. Then he returned to the apartment where the crime was committed, along with his friend, and properly burglarized the place. He took away a TV, some music speakers, female cosmetics, skirts, thigh-high stockings, dresses, blouses, pantyhose, shoes, pretty much the entire wardrobe of the deceased girl. He gave the clothes and cosmetics to his girlfriend as a present. The stolen TV set Mr. Dovydas put in his own room. The music player and the speakers he sold to the local pawn shop. Or at least he tried. For you see, our main protagonist's intellect knows no bounds. After taking the music player and the speakers to the pawn shop, the shopkeeper asked Mr. Dovydas to show his passport.
Papers, please.
In order to complete the transaction and receive money for the payment. It was here, during this momentous occasion, that Mr. Dovydas had a sudden epiphany and realized that if he were to show a passport while trying to sell the stolen goods, he might leave a paper trail. Oh God, what to do? And he already handed the music player and the speakers to the shopkeeper over the counter, and the shopkeeper refuses to give the items back. What a hurdle. Scared, Mr. Dovydas makes a sudden excuse about forgetting his passport at home and flees the pawn shop in terror and with great haste. He then tearfully pleads his friend to go to the pawn shop and promptly buy out the said music player and the speakers. Otherwise the sky is going to fall down on Dovydas, literally. Curiously, the pawn shop shopkeeper didn't ask the passport from his friend. After that, Mr. Dovydas allowed his friend to keep the said music player and the speakers, as it's only right and proper. Speaking of, a proper modern-day Robin Hood was Mr. Dovydas, was he not? Steals from the rich and gives out to the poor. That is, if we consider a rich, quote-unquote, in this story to be a barely middle-income family who's apparently struggled so hard with finances in Lithuania that, like so many others during the early 2000s, they had to emigrate to the UK in search for work. Oh yeah, to quote the famous video game Overwatch from Blizzard, perhaps the world could use less heroes like Mr. Dovydas here. But I digress. Soon after selling off the goods, Mr. Dovydas got arrested and admitted to his crimes. And that's when his mother came into the picture, a former cop and a practicing clerk at some government law agency at the time. She made sure that her son would have a cell phone smuggled inside Dovydas' prison cell, where mom then chatted with her son multiple times a day, where she would personally instruct and catechize him during these long and hushed summer afternoons about what to say and what not to say during the interrogations and the future court proceedings. The joke was on her, however, for Mr. Dovidas already admitted to the whole thing. And it didn't really matter that Dovidas recounted his confession after being instructed by his mom. According to the news, the whole mafia excuse may have been Dovidas's mother's idea all along. Of course the court didn't buy it. And of course during the trial, all those cell phone shenanigans were brought up as evidence. As a last-ditch effort, Mr. Dovidas's mom managed to arrange a mental evaluation of her son. If it proved that her son was mentally immature at the time of the murders, at worst he would have gotten 10 years hard time in prison. Unfortunately, the court system didn't quite see it that way, and Mr. Dovidas was proclaimed to be mature like cheese, and thus he received a life sentence. Cue his mother's tears and his desperate last-minute pleadings after hearing the sentencing that he didn't kill the two young ladies, that he only intended to rob Aushra's apartment, and that there is no way he could have carried out all these items on his own. Even his lawyer, I kind of feel sad for the poor lad, tried to desperately argue that despite being armed with a knife and a metal pipe, there is no way Dovidas could have handled the might of the two 18-year-old school girls. Yay! Girl power! And so that's it. The man goes to jail, the curtains go down, finito, roll the credits. If only things were that simple. Mr. Dovidas was incarcerated since mid-2003, and around the year 2020 he suddenly decided that, I kinda don't feel the vibe of this whole prison shtick, And another thing, in case you have forgotten, I am innocent, you feel me? Capiche? Of course, Lithuanian justice system, imperfect though it may be, didn't exactly was about to release a convicted double murderer just because he didn't felt a shred of guilt about his crimes. So Mr. Dovidas felt that, like everything in this world, if you wish to do something right, you gotta do it yourself. And so he did his best, for once in his life, to get his noggin jogging and come up with a daring escape plan from prison. Something so simple, so foolproof, even he can screw it up. And this is when Mr. Dovidas came up with a devious plan. During one late evening, Mr. Dovidas somehow managed to grab one of the female correctional officers, because it is much easier to take a woman hostage rather than an underpaid, underappreciated, and likely just as angry and violent, if not more, armed correctional officer that is a male. Dovidas used a belt and somehow managed to put it around the neck of the female officer, holding a belt in one hand like a leash and a knife in the other. Mr. Dovidas no doubt woke up half the prison as he started to squeal that officers need to let him out. Let me out. I'm innocent. It's been 17 years, god damn it. I was supposed to only get 10. Because I'm immature. I want to be free, god damn it. Do you hear me? The police officers, not wanting to risk the actions of a knife-wielding maniac, complied with his demands. They opened one after another the gates leading out of the penitentiary until Dovydas was near the last exit. Once the final gates were opened, Dovydas kicked the female police lady in the rear, cursed at her and the entire prison facility, and with great haste he dashed through the gates to freedom. Freedom! Yay! Kawabanga, baby! Who knew that escaping prison would be so simple? Hey, Texas 7, yeah, you, eat your heart out. Yay, woohoo! Now that Mr. Dovydas was no longer holding a hostage, a proper violent response was a fair game. And so the prison warden told a couple of the officers, "The hell are you doing? Don't just stand here. After him!" The two officers ran after Mr. Dovydas through the main prison gates, while the warden, the remaining officers, and prisoners stood around the area and simply watched the commotion unfolding before their very eyes. Sadly for Mr. Dovydas, despite his youthful maximalism and his adrenaline-fueled determination, he didn't manage to run far. Only a couple of 100 meters to the nearby parking lot, just outside the prison complex. It was here, between a bunch of cars belonging to the prison staff, Mr. Dovydas played tag with the two prison officers for a brief moment or two. Hey, Kentas, where are you running? Stop, cause I'll catch you. Until a loud bang and an electric buzzing sound was heard. Stag, blät! Sucka, blät! Get up and get your ass back into prison, damn it! It all ended with one of the officers shooting a taser cord into Mr. Dovydas' naughty posterior, through which Mr. Dovydas then experienced a good old-fashioned spanking delivered by the 50,000 volts of capitalism promoting electricity. After that, once being properly subdued, the great prison escape of Mr. Dovydas was promptly ended, and his bratty little bottom was promptly marched back into prison. During his subsequent trial, Mr. Dovydas argued that the prison escape was necessary because the authorities refused to release him. Poor boy. And because he doesn't feel like he's really guilty of the crimes committed, he does not believe that he deserves to sit in prison, and thus he should be acquitted of the prison sentence, much less a life sentence. If only every criminal were to be released on such, quite frankly, laughable grounds, I wouldn't be able to walk outside of my apartment, or rather, they would break into it, along with the neighboring apartments and houses. Well, it's a good thing, then, that while the justice system, imperfect though it may be, it still works, and it keeps society safe from such individuals as the main antagonist of today's story. And that brings us to the end of today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. It was very fun narrating it. Even though my videos only get like 10 or 30 views and half of them are probably my own, I'm still grateful if someone bothers to click on my videos and listen to them, even if it's just for 10 seconds. Again, thanks for watching and or listening. Please don't forget to click like, share it and subscribe, and or leave a comment if you feel extra generous. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.